Speaking of family, today is a big day in the Biden family. It is First Lady Dr. Jill Biden's birthday. Yes, that's right. Bring on the confetti. As the First Lady of the United States, surely she had some sort of elaborate plan to celebrate today, right? So what was she doing?
Jill Biden sitting in the front row, watching every single prospective juror coming into that courtroom. She is taking copious notes, and she is just hearing sort of these raw, unfiltered views of everyday Americans who her husband represents.
Yes, every mother's dream, sitting in on the jury selection for her son's felony trial. It happened today. 12 jurors and 4 alternates were selected in Hunter Biden's case. He is charged with illegally owning a firearm while being addicted to illegal drugs.
Prosecutors are relying on photos and text messages from Hunter Biden, including this one allegedly sent just 2 days after purchasing the gun. I was sleeping on a car, smoking crack on 4th Street and Rodney.
Now, Hunter pleaded not guilty, and he has been open about his struggles with addiction, even writing a book about it. But the thing is, in this country, you cannot buy a gun if you are addicted to drugs. That's at the crux of this case. And in Congress, he's been a frequent target for many Republicans, including the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene. As one does, she has shown naked pictures of Hunter on the House floor several times.
And it's marked out.
Mr. Chairman, point of parliamentary
showing proof of Mann Act violations. Democrats should not be offended by pictures that black out.
Have I been recognized?
They should be offended by human trafficking.
Mr. Chairman,
state your point.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman. On July.
All right, so that person clamoring to make a parliamentary inquiry in the background was Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin. Of course, we know he has spoken out many times in meetings where Greene is doing something a little unconventional. That continued today as Greene was questioning whether or not Dr. Anthony Fauci was in fact a doctor.
Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor, you're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
of order.
Just in terms of the rules of decorum, are we allowed to deny that a doctor is a doctor just because we don't want him to be a doctor?
Yes, because in my time, that man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked, and he belongs in prison.
Fauci was on Capitol Hill today for a follow-up hearing on the origins of COVID-19. House Democrats condemned the whole thing as political, including Raskin.
They're treating you, Dr. Fauci, like a convicted felon. Actually, you probably wish they were treating you like a convicted felon. They treat convicted felons with love and admiration. Some of them blindly worship convicted felons. Is there anything else you would like to say to the American people about your service?
My main job during the COVID pandemic was to play a role with my team at the Vaccine Research Center to develop a safe and effective vaccine. And we did that in an unprecedented short period of time.
Let's break down more on why Dr. Fauci was on the Hill. Victoria Knight's a healthcare reporter with Axios up late with me tonight on the Final Five. Victoria, we've seen this before. We've seen Dr. Fauci on the Hill in different ways, shapes, and forms. What was today about?
Yeah, so the new thing for today was this was the first time that Fauci has testified since he retired. So he retired at the end of 2022, if you remember. So it's been about a year and a half. And so the COVID Select Subcommittee that was formed with former Speaker Kevin McCarthy when he started his time as leader of the House, beginning of 2023. So the committee was set up then, and they have been investigating various aspects of COVID over the last year and a half. And this is the first time that committee has brought Fauci in. So that was kind of why they brought him in today, and they had a lot of questions for him.
There were questions, and then there were questions. We know certainly the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene are no fans of Dr. Fauci, but there is an aim for these hearings. Brad Wenstrup, who is also a medical doctor, really the aim of these hearings, believe it or not, is to get information out of there. Was there anything new that we gleaned from this today?
Honestly, there wasn't a ton of new information out of this hearing. I would say the biggest thing, so a few weeks ago, they had a senior advisor who worked with Dr. Fauci previously at the NIH. They brought him in, and they the select subcommittee found through doing some records requests that he had been corresponding over a private email address, and also saying like this is a way to talk about COVID origins that can't be gotten through a public record. And so the committee today really wanted to check with Dr. Fauci and be like, were you corresponding over this private email address? And so Dr. Fauci on the record said, no, I never used a private email address for government business to the best of my knowledge. So I think they really wanted to get that on the record. That was probably the newsiest thing. And I think the committee is going to try to do some more public records around Fauci's emails to see if that's true.
Is there, I mean, what is, I mean, at least to the best of your knowledge, is there an end game for this? Is it the aim to put out a report? I mean, again, we've seen a lot of these questions asked in many different forms, and that's okay. It's the right. In the House, you have that power of the subpoena. You can bring people before you. You can have them testify. But do we have any idea of what the end game is here?
Yeah, I mean, Chairman Winstrup that you mentioned earlier, he's a doctor. He's doing this in collaboration with Raul Ruiz, who is also a doctor on the Dem side. And they say they want to come out of this with, lessons learned in case there's another pandemic. And I know there definitely will be a report out of the committee. And they've done a lot of focus recently, more so on, was the NIH, giving out grants to maybe people that were doing kinds of research that we shouldn't be the U.S. government shouldn't be funding. So I think there also may be some reforms in how government grants are given out to certain scientific agencies. But those probably are the biggest things. That's seems like the end goal. There's still some time left of this Congress. There's some other things they could try to tackle, but I think we'll see something in December, most likely.
One of the things I think, and you've seen this too in your time on the Hill, is there are people who want to say things and get them on the record on the House side, but it's easy to forget, and these aren't the sound bites that usually make the evening news, that there are thoughtful questions mixed into this. Because you're right, we went through this once in a lifetime, knock on wood, once in a lifetime pandemic. I think that there are still a lot of things that we went through that we had to question: was that necessary, or what did we do? What did we do? What could we do better? Does that seem to be the goal of the doctors involved here?
I mean, that's what the doctors both say, but then of course there's also political questions on both sides. So, and those are the ones that kind of make more TV news, as you said. But there were questions about, what can we do to be better prepared next time? There were some more measured things. But like I said, it was kind of a lot of the same that we've heard before. So it was somewhat, I think, just this committee wanted to have their chance with Dr. Fauci, but ask a lot of the same questions. So.
Victoria Knight of Axios joining us on the Final Five. Victoria, good to see you.
Jim, thanks so much for having me.
And by the way, if you want to know the finest places to eat on Capitol Hill, just go to Victoria's Twitter page. We're back after this on the Final Five.